There are signings that improve your squad. And then, there are signings that tell you something about the manager. And I think Víctor Muñoz might belong in that second category. Because when Andoni Iraola talks about Liverpool's new Spanish forward, he doesn't just talk about talent. He talks about versatility, work rate, hunger, ambition, and being ready for what Liverpool will demand. Those words caught my attention. Because maybe Liverpool's first signing of the Iraola era is also our first real clue about the kind of team he wants to build. So what exactly does Víctor Muñoz tell us about the new Liverpool? Let's get into it. First, let's separate what we know from what we think. This transfer is official. Liverpool agreed a deal to sign Munoz from Osasuna on a long-term contract, and he became the first new addition since Iraola took charge. He's 23 years old now. He's a Spain international. And he arrives after a breakthrough season with Osasuna. Liverpool's own description of him is pretty revealing. They see him as quick, direct, and versatile. And Iraola went even further when discussing the signing. He described Munoz as hungry and ambitious, but also humble. More importantly, from a tactical perspective, Iraola specifically pointed out that he can play from the right or the left. Then came another phrase that I think matters even more: work rate. Iraola said Munoz has the work rate Liverpool will require. And that's where this story becomes much more interesting than Liverpool simply signing another winger, because those characteristics sound very deliberate. Let's start with versatility. Modern coaches love players who can solve more than one problem. But for Iraola, that could be especially important. If Munoz can operate from either side, Liverpool don't necessarily have to build their attacking structure around one fixed position for him. He can potentially compete in different roles. He can give the manager options depending on the opponent. And he can allow Liverpool to change the shape of the attack without immediately making a substitution. That flexibility matters. But versatility alone doesn't explain why I think this signing could tell us something about Iraola. The bigger clue is the combination: versatility plus speed, directness plus work rate, technical ability, combined with intensity. That sounds much closer to a player profile chosen for a specific footballing idea. And here's the interesting part. Iraola didn't describe Munoz as a finished superstar. Quite the opposite. He talked about a young player who is ambitious, humble, and knows he needs to arrive ready. That suggests Liverpool aren't only looking at what a player is today. They're thinking about what he could become inside this system. And that brings us to recruitment. This is where I'm particularly interested, because whenever a new manager arrives, there's always a temptation to judge his project through formations. Is it 4-3-3? Is it 4-2-3-1? Where does Florian Wirtz play? Who starts on the wings? Those questions matter, but sometimes recruitment tells you more about a coach than a formation ever could. Formations change. Player characteristics usually tell you what a manager actually values. And with Munoz, the characteristics Liverpool and Iraola are emphasizing are pretty clear: movement, directness, positional flexibility, and the willingness to work without the ball. That last part is crucial, because pressing football only works when your attacking players accept defensive responsibility. You can design the perfect pressing structure on a tactics board, but it means nothing if the front line doesn't run. The first defender is often an attacker. If one player doesn't close the right space, the opponent can play through the press, and suddenly, everybody behind him is exposed. So when Iraola specifically mentions Munoz's work rate, I listen. To me, that isn't a throwaway compliment. It could be a clue about the standard he expects from Liverpool's forwards. Now think about what Munoz could offer with the ball. Liverpool describe him as direct, and I really like that, because direct doesn't have to mean predictable. It can mean receiving the ball and immediately asking a defender a question. Can you stop me going outside? Can you deal with me attacking the space? Can you recover if I accelerate? That kind of player can change the rhythm of an attack. Liverpool already have technical players who can combine in tight areas. They have players who want touches between the lines. They have creative midfield quality. A direct wide attacker can complement that. If opponents become too narrow, he can threaten the outside. If a defender steps forward aggressively, he can attack the space behind. And if Liverpool win possession while the opponent is disorganized, pace becomes even more valuable. But there's an important warning here. Munoz should not be treated like a guaranteed starter simply because he's Iraola's first signing. That would be unfair. He's joining a massive... He's entering the Premier League. And Liverpool already have serious competition in attacking positions. So this should be about development as much as immediate impact. There's another reason patience will matter. Munoz went deep into the World Cup with Spain and finished the tournament as a world champion. That delayed his return to club football. Iraola has already acknowledged that both Munoz and Alexis Mac Allister needed proper rest after reaching the final. And he admitted that could affect the beginning of their season. I actually think that's sensible. Liverpool shouldn't look at a new signing and immediately think, we need to see him now. The season is much bigger than one August game. Let him recover. Let him learn the demands of the system. Let him understand his teammates. Then judge him. Because the danger with a signing like this is expectation moving faster than development. Now, I want to clearly separate fact from opinion. This next part is my personal view. I think Munoz makes sense as an Iraola signing precisely because he doesn't look like a luxury player. He looks like a player who has tools that can be shaped. He's young enough to develop. He can cover multiple attacking positions. He brings pace. He's direct. And according to the manager himself, he has the work rate Liverpool are going to require. That profile interests me more than simply signing the biggest available name. Because Liverpool are not building a fantasy football team. They're building a functioning team. And sometimes, the player who makes the system better is more valuable than the player with the biggest reputation. But we also need to be careful. One signing does not prove an entire recruitment philosophy. We cannot look at Munoz and suddenly claim every Liverpool signing under Iraola will follow exactly the same model. That would be getting ahead of ourselves. Different positions require different qualities. Liverpool may need experience in certain areas. They may need specialists elsewhere. And Munoz still has to prove that his qualities translate to Premier League football. That's the challenge. So my final verdict is pretty simple. Víctor Muñoz is interesting not only because of what he might become for Liverpool. He's interesting because of what his signing might reveal about Andoni Iraola. Versatility, intensity, direct running, work without the ball, and a player who still has room to grow. If those characteristics continue appearing in Liverpool's recruitment, then we'll have a much clearer picture of where this project is going. For now, Munoz is only one piece of evidence. But he's a fascinating first piece. And personally, I'm excited to see what happens when Iraola finally gets him onto the training pitch. When he starts turning those raw qualities into a defined role. Because the biggest question isn't simply whether Víctor Muñoz becomes a good Liverpool player. It's whether, a year from now, we look back at this signing and realize this was the moment we first understood what Iraola's Liverpool was going to look like. What do you think? Does Munoz look like the perfect profile for Iraola's football? Or do you think Liverpool still need a different type of attacker? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe to Liverpool Passion for daily Liverpool news, tactical analysis, and honest fan opinion. You'll never walk alone.